Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NebuCast, the first ever Bark podcast. Today, I have a very special guest with me. He encouraged me to do this and helped me get into streaming and content creation. So, say hello to JAWSMUNCH.
Howdy, everyone.
How are you doing today, Jaws?
Doing great. I'm excited for it. I'm excited that we got everything figured out and, happy to be your first guest. It's awesome.
I'm very happy to have you. Today also, we have Robot Robert 3 controlling the spectator cam. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just a little something to give you a visual to watch, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about the game going on too. But without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, Jaws, how long have you been a content creator / streamer?
I guess I'll answer the last question first because it would be the proper order. I started streaming when I was probably like 20, I think. So that was 7-8 years now. But not consistently and not really very seriously. I just kind of was messing around with it, playing games that I enjoyed, and kind of just getting used to the streaming software and the concept of it, right? And I've always been intrigued by it, as I'm sure anyone would be. It's very interesting to see people who are able to play video games and make money doing it. That's always been pretty interesting to me. Wow, that's a thing. But I never really took it seriously, and I never anticipated earning anything from it. I would play games like CS:GO, Valorant. What else did I play? Mostly just those, because I was rather addicted to those games during that time frame. So I've been streaming for several years, but not seriously. And it's only within this past 4 or 5 months back. Actually, now it's closer to 6 months back. I actually started to stream Beyond All Reason due to a friend telling me, hey, if you actually want to stream, Beyond All Reason actually has the potential for it to be something that people watch, because right now you're streaming to no one.
Yeah.
And why don't you just stream to people that are actually going to watch? And I was like, I'll think about that. And being stubborn, I didn't do it for. He told me that 5 months before I actually started doing it regularly.
Oh, really?
And I just was thinking about it. I was like, maybe he's right. I like bar, but streaming it a lot, I don't know. But
yeah.
I ended up going with it, and it's turned into something more than just streaming, although that is largely how it started, was streaming.
So did you play bar before you started streaming it, or did you start playing bar because you wanted to start streaming it?
I played bar, I think about a year ago, actually, is when I saw the game. And as probably most people, it's because I've always had an interest in RTS, and I kind of felt late to the StarCraft field. I felt like that had kind of run its course. It's been around forever.
Yeah, 10 years, right? At least.
Yeah.
Probably 12 or something.
I think it's kind of getting towards the end of its life, would be my guess. And I've always been wondering, what is the next thing that's going to be RTS and possibly getting big and have a real good tournament base and esports potential type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've always been curious about that because I'm a very competitive person when it comes to gaming, and I really enjoy testing my skills and adjusting things to improve myself. So that's always been a big pull for me. And as I was searching around, I would just randomly look up on YouTube, what are the top RTS games of the year or whatever.
Yeah.
And try to find that game. That way I could get in, before it gets big.
Yeah.
And I feel I finally got there.
Yeah, that's funny because that's kind of the same way I found it. I mean, a different reason. I was playing Baldur's Gate, and I was like, this kind of reminds me of StarCraft in a weird way. And then I was like, I wonder what RTS games are good right now. And it was the same thing. I like looked up a YouTube video. I think it was probably like Winter Gaming's video about it or something, you know, and I was just like, oh, this looks cool. And then I downloaded it at like 3 a.m. and the rest is history. I've been addicted to it ever since.
Right. It's a fantastic game, and especially for like even the potential it has for people who've never played RTS. Like I've seen a lot of people who never touched an RTS game before get into bar and actually start learning it, and it's a really great opportunity for getting a bunch of people who might not normally look at a game like this and actually just enjoy their time with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, for me, I played StarCraft when I was, like, 10, so I didn't understand it. Or I played StarCraft 2, if that ages me, I guess, or dates me. Like, I had no idea. You know, I was too young to, like, understand, like, what even an RTS is. So this is, I would consider, like, my first, like, serious RTS. And like you're saying, I had no interest in esports at all until I just kind of accidentally got into this. Because I started watching some of the YouTubers who cast the game, and I was like, wow, this is actually like really engaging. Like it's like a sport. It's really engaging to watch, and really exciting.
Yeah, whether you're playing or watching, it's just a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of watch potential here that I don't think you'll find with any other RTS.
And so how long have you been playing? In case I missed it.
Bar for a year, maybe a little bit over a year. Yeah.
Wow. Do you know how many hours you have in the game?
Not exactly. I don't really look it up that often. But if I had to guess, it'd be a little bit over 3,000.
Oh, 3,000.
I think. I'm not sure.
I think it's under 1,000 because you definitely don't have the silver chevron yet. At least I don't think.
Yeah. It's somewhere around that. I spent a lot of time. It's in the thousands.
Yeah.
I just never look it up because I'm too busy actually doing stuff.
Yeah. And wow, just watching Robot just kind of flying around the game. Like when you're actually playing, you don't get to appreciate the models as much up close. But then like spectating, like I've never seen the missile trucks this close, and they look so good.
Yeah,
their little
all
packs
the models are very detailed.
Yeah.
The fact that they're going to be updating some of this stuff is really awesome. I think they even said they're planning on updating Rex and the missile projectiles. They want to improve on those as well. So there's a lot of things that they have in the plans to make this game even better, and it's already so fantastic.
Yeah, and because again, like this is an alpha, you know, so it's just I always forget that it's an alpha because it feels so polished, you know, unless you're like you turn on the experimental settings. But yeah, I love the game, and I'm glad the community around it too is so great.
Yeah.
So wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Well, I wanted to ask you more about like starting to stream bar, kind of what that experience, like what was it like before you stream bar, and what was it like getting into streaming bar?
Yeah, so when I was streaming just for fun, just basically for myself, I would say, just doing games that I was into at the time. It was definitely not a good streaming experience by any stretch. It was definitely a bit sad. You would stream essentially to no one every single time you stream.
I mean, would you have like 1 or 2 viewers, or just literally 0 viewers?
You would have the one viewer every single day, and that viewer was your camera viewing yourself. So it was pretty bad. Every once in a while you'd have like one person pop in, but there was no real engagement, and it never really challenged you to improve as a streamer because there's no one to talk to. There's no like And even if you do get really good at talking to yourself, which is recommended for streamers, to
Mm.
just communicate what's happening, have a good time, and be like vocal about every aspect of everything going on. Even if you did do that as a streamer in one of those saturated areas in Twitch, you're just never going to see any benefit from it because you're not streaming to anyone. Anyone that does pop in, it's probably just to see like, oh, how like like
Yeah.
how is this person doing? Oh, he's doing, he has no viewers, I can see why. And it's just they're
Yeah.
instantly gone. They have no reason to stick around. And
Yeah.
I think one of the bigger things about streaming is it's very important that you add some type of value to the community that you're streaming to.
Yeah.
And if you can't find a way to do that, if you can't find a way to give something that they don't already have, they have no incentive to even view you. You'll never get big providing nothing extra.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the challenge with it. You got to find, even if you don't want to stream bar, you have to find a game or like some type of unique aspect that you can provide the watcher that they cannot find somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so when you started streaming bar, like, did that change? Were you still just streaming to the void, as you call it, or?
Yeah, I know you saw a change almost instantly.
Yeah.
You went from streaming to yourself to streaming to 3 or 4 people every once in a while. I think my first streams I ended up getting maybe like 10 views on them, 15 views on them, stuff like that. It all depended on the timing.
Yeah.
And I actually started streaming bar when it was a little bit less popular than it is now. There was much fewer. There'd be times where you'd go on Twitch and there wouldn't be anyone streaming, like, frequently. It would be a rarity to see a stream on it. So,
and I'm sorry, how long ago did you start streaming bar? Did you start streaming right away, or?
I started streaming about 8 months ago. 8 months ago, something like that.
Okay, so like a few months after you had already been playing the game.
Yeah, but not consistently. I was just doing it every once in a while for fun.
Yeah.
But you would actually see people stop by and watch it. And actually, there weren't very many VODs on bar, like, available on Twitch. So my videos would get views even afterwards because people would just want to see, what happened when I was offline. But now that's a little bit past where there's so many videos coming out that people aren't going to necessarily watch back and see your specific stream. So
yeah. And then because now I would say you're pretty, like, it's not like you're making a ton of money, I imagine, off of Twitch, but you're what I would consider successful, where you have people hanging out every stream. How long did it take for you to start getting more viewers on bar?
Well, I would say that came after I added a bit more value to the community. When I was just streaming for fun, you essentially are a no-name person when you first start out. And I decided, I've always been interested in doing some YouTube videos. I've always been interested in, like, finding a way that I can, help others in something, and I've originally, like, it all kind of stemmed from YouTube, of why my streaming became a little bit more popular and people started, like, actively watching me more frequently, is because of the YouTube, in my opinion. Just where I had already given some tutorials, some tips, and, like, a reason to watch me, I guess.
Yeah.
I could be wrong there, but that's kind of what I've theorized.
Yeah.
As far as consistent viewership.
Yeah, so how did you get into YouTube then and making videos?
So with the YouTube channel, I made my first YouTube videos probably a year to 2 years ago, but they weren't on Beyond All Reason at all. I originally started trying to do, like, League of Legends videos, just kind of playthroughs, and those were absolutely terrible. Zero viewership, no interest. It was way too crowded of a space. So I canned that whole idea because you're just pushing out content into the void, and that's never going to be valuable, really.
Because like I mean, League of Legends is a pretty popular game. Like there's already so much content.
Mm-hmm. And you have no reason to be watched, and that's kind of the challenge there. So anyway, I originally started making content a little bit before I started playing bar, and then I just canned that whole idea and essentially said, forget it. And then I did make one successful video that got like 1,000, 2,000 views on it, and that was going over Rumble. Actually, it was a video on Rumble because I had always been a little bit curious, like what is Rumble and how to use it, and there was limited information. So
wait, I'm sorry, is Rumble part of League of Legends, or is it a different game?
No, Rumble's actually it's very similar to YouTube. It's a video streaming app. Yeah, a very, very, very similar concept to YouTube, but it's a lot less popular, a lot less known.
That makes sense.
Just kind of going over the licensing for your videos and how they all worked, because they had a bunch of different options that were kind of harder to understand. So I just broke it down in that video, and that video did rather well. So I kind of had the contrast at that point of like how what it's like creating YouTube videos that no one wants to see, and then also what's it like to create YouTube videos that people do want to see. And I was able to see that difference very vividly, when I made that. But I didn't have like a strong interest in Rumble, so I was like, no, I'm not going to like commit to making Rumble videos, because that's just going to lead to burnout, and like I'm not going to enjoy doing it. Even though it does have value, it's not going to be something that I can like do for an extended period of time. So I canned it, and then after playing bar for a while, I finally decided, you know what, there's a hole here in what is available for bar. There are tutorial videos, but a lot of them don't go over the details of the game that I would like to see. I know there's nuance. I know there's a lot of info that people really are looking for, but it's just kind of hard to find it. You have to learn it through gameplay. You have to learn it through digesting hours and hours of video footage instead of just going to one specific video talking about the thing that you're trying to learn. So that's kind of where I got the inspiration to start the YouTube channel.
And I will say, because I mean, I've seen your tutorials, and they're much higher quality in my opinion than what was out there. Like I think just
effort, sure.
Yeah, like I could tell, like you just put a lot more. You were putting a lot more effort into your tutorials, and being an alpha like it is, and it's just a smaller game right now. Like there just wasn't a lot of tutorials out there, and the tutorials that were out there were just maybe a little like they were good, but in terms of like the video production, they were maybe a little just lower effort.
Right. Not quite as high effort. And to be honest, it at the time when I was thinking about doing it, it was a little bit more risky, because like some of the bigger names, like Winter Gaming, he doesn't really do Beyond All Reason nearly as much as he did. I don't know if he never plays or whatever, but I haven't seen any new content that he makes on it, so I'm not really sure. Anyway, I started doing it a little bit after he left, like after he stopped creating bar content. I became kind of disgruntled, because I was like, dude, why are you leaving? Like, I love bar. Why did you stop making the game, the videos on the game? And, I always loved Brightworks too, and I was appreciative of Brightworks. But at the same time, I saw one of the bigger names leave, and so I kind of got like a little bit frustrated.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that actually motivated me to start doing the videos, because I had such a passion for the game. I did not want to see content stop being created for it, and specifically like content for new people. I really wanted to make sure that there was a well-rounded amount of videos for newer people to watch. So that way we can still get some new folks into the game.
Yeah, and because like I mean, I appreciate like just I feel like there's games that I've never seen before that I'll like see on YouTube or something that I'm like, you know, even though I've never heard of this game and it's not like I was like going to play it, it still kind of like piques my interest, you know, and that's something that I also hope that your videos are able to do, is just kind of bring people in, you know.
YouTube is a search algorithm essentially, and the more that we create bar videos as a community, the more our bar community will grow. I mean, just by sheer, you know, math, some percentage of people who watch our videos who've never seen bar will eventually come and start playing, and some of those people will stay. So the more we make, the more we keep.
Yeah, and it's just such a great community, you know, like for me at least, like the thing that's drawn me even more into my bar obsession is just how nice the community is, you know, and just like it's a smaller game, so if you play matches online you'll end up seeing like a lot of the same names around.
Right. And you know, as it is with any competitive game, like you're gonna have some bad actors in there who are
definitely
the hard nosed, like try hard sweaty boys, you know. But there are plenty of people who are gonna go be above and beyond to help you learn the game, and in the right situations it can be a very fantastic community for new people to just be able to, you know, get used to controls, get used to the game, and have opportunity there. And you know, that's kind of why on my streams I try to host some like noob focused lobbies, just in case there's some people out there who haven't really gotten a chance to mess around with some of the finer details. I want to provide the opportunity for them to. And,
you're definitely
community in that way.
Yeah, you're definitely really good about including new players and taking your time to teach.
There we go.
When you're playing.
Back now.
What?
Oh, you had cut out for a second there.
Oh, bummer. Is that a little better?
Yeah, you should be good now, I think.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was just saying you're very good about including new players when you're playing, and that's something I appreciate too. I definitely struggle.
We got more. We lost you again, Nebuchadnezzar.
Hold on. Is that any better? Now am I back? Nope.
Okay. Yeah, you're back. I hear you now.
Okay.
Technical difficulties. We still gotta get this guy a mic.
Yeah, I need to get a USB mic. I'm using an XLR mic right now. Hopefully that's a little better. Am I coming through a little better now?
I think a little bit more consistently.
Okay, great. Well, so what I was saying is, you're very good about including new players and just making sure that, you know, you take the time to try to teach new players how to play the game. And that's definitely something that I mean, you know, it's a difficult game. It's difficult to learn. It's very rewarding to learn, but the initial learning curve is very steep, and it can be very hard to just jump into competitive games, right?
Right, competitive especially.
Yeah. So it's always nice to see lobbies hosted that are just, you know, more new player directed, and that is something like I know you and I both have seen. A lot of the Reddit can be new players complaining about,
right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think, you know, there is some of that, but I just, in a lot of cases, like my experience learning the game, like every once in a while I would get flamed by, you know, you're playing in an 8v8 lobby, so there's 16 players, 15 other players. Every once in a while you're gonna get that one player of the 15 who is kind of a jerk, you know, because you're new. But
yeah, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of players are actually really nice, and will help you if you're willing to listen. And if you join, at least what I found is if I join a lobby and I say, hey, I'm new, like, just give me tips. As long as it's the right lobby, you don't want to jump into like a very experienced lobby as a new player, because like that's not what they're usually looking for. But
right.
But when you join like a new lobby or
one of the struggles I think for new players when they're coming in is they probably don't even understand the terminology yet. Like they see a lobby that says for Chev 20 plus, and they have no idea what that means.
Yeah, they just try to join the lobby and then they get kicked, and it's like, why'd I get kicked? And for those of you who maybe don't know, for Chev, it means chevrons, and you get chevrons based on the amount of time you've played. So if you see
essentially your experience level.
Yeah, and so if you see a lobby that says like 3 chevron plus, it means you need to have like at least 15 hours in the game to play in the lobby. Or like 4 chevron. I think you get your 4th chevron at 100 hours. I might be wrong on that. But so players will make, if you're new and you're starting out, you want to find lobbies that are called like noob lobbies or all welcome lobbies. Because there's such a steep learning curve that more experienced players might not want to.
It's harder to have a consistent game when you have inconsistency in like your teammates. So that's why a lot of the higher level players, they really want to maintain their competitive edge and climb the leaderboard. So they're a bit more picky about who they play with, so that they can just keep that competitive edge as much as possible. Yeah, that's why.
Because the game, it's a very fun game. It's a very rewarding game. It's also a very competitive game, and it's very punishing. And in
certain areas, like,
in certain ways,
not every player is going to play it competitively, but when you get into the higher rankings, it's just like any other game. There's going to be very competitive, high-level players.
Yeah, and that's why it's important just to find the right lobbies, because there's the more fun, like, casual lobbies, but there's also the competitive ones. And there's even, like, the completely non-competitive game mode. So, I mean, that's something that's also just really nice about the game, is there's a lot of variety. What's your favorite part of the game, would you say?
My favorite part? I would say probably I'm gonna honestly have to go with my eco, because the economy aspect is really, really sweet. Something that I can really appreciate about Bar is the fact that there is limited resources, but at the same time there's infinite resources. So that's a really, really awesome aspect of a game, because I was always like, even as a kid when I would play RTS games, if I run out of resources, where I use up, like they use up, they have a limited quantity. After they're all gone, you kind of feel dead in the water, and how are you supposed to continue if there are no resources left in the entire game? So I've always enjoyed the idea of being able to like constantly like improve my economy and grow the economy, and so this game excels at that. And it's a very fun mechanic where you can convert your energy into metal and then just scale that infinitely with, obviously, and responsibly, not just infinitely, but also responsibly. So that your team doesn't lose. But yeah, that's an absolutely fantastic part of the game, in my opinion.
I like that part too. And like your resources are limited until they go infinite. And then they're infinite.
Exactly.
But it's hard to get to the infinite point, but it's so fun when you get to that just like point where you can just infinitely grow. I don't know if you've ever played it, but I used to play when I was younger a lot of SimCity. And this game is just, it kind of like unintentionally scratches that itch for me that, like, it's not like I wanted to play. It's not a city builder at all, but just the fun of like planning your base out. getting your economy up.
Seeing your empire grow.
Yeah. And then it's just a cool game. There's so many different aspects to it.
Yeah, I agree.
How about, let me see what other topics we have to cover. Do you want to talk about like your favorite units, favorite faction?
Favorite faction. We'll start with that. Legion. It's kind of tough because I really, really like Legion, but I don't fully know what it is yet.
Yeah.
As far as like, I guess novelty. My favorite faction for novelty is definitely Legion.
Yeah.
But as far as like what I will often play the most, it will definitely be Armada. Like Armada is my favorite faction technically, but Legion is like a close second and possibly going to change based on what they become in the future.
Yeah, I guess sorry to interrupt, but just for those of you who don't know, right now in the base game there's 2 factions that are like quote unquote finished. It is an alpha, so again, like they're going to be updated again. But for now they're always in the base game. Your 2 factions, you have Armada, which is like, how would you describe them? They're more like kind of advanced technology, like they're kind of sleeker. And then there's Cortex, which is more like rough, like metal on metal, kind of like just like bolt things together and just do a lot of damage. Whereas
the aggression, precision, massive explosions everywhere.
And the so like Armada is more like tactical and precise, whereas Cortex is more build a big army, crush your opponents. And this is maybe a hot take, but I actually have always thought that the names are a little flipped, because like Cortex, brain Cortex, like I always thought that should be actually when I was starting the game I would get confused because I just thought Armada was Cortex and Cortex was Armada, because like Armada army, I don't, just a funny thing.
Yeah, like a giant group of ships.
But anyways, so those are the 2 base factions, and then the developers have been working on Legion, which is right now an experimental faction, so it's not fully finished. So it's an extra setting that you can turn on, and it's kind of an interesting, like, it's getting its own models now, but it's kind of a mishmash of like Armada and Cortex just right now. But it is a very fun faction to play.
Yeah, and we'll see a lot of changes in that in the future, and I know that they're still roughing stuff out with it, so don't expect it to stay as it is.
Yeah, it's developing, and very quickly, because it is an open source game, which is also, I don't know, Jaws, do you spend a lot of time in the Discord? In the main Discord?
No, actually, I do not. Just due to the amount of time I have to spend on things in life, I do not. I unfortunately do not have.
Of course,
in the actual official Discord.
Yeah,
but maybe someday, as my life transitions in different ways, I'll have the opportunity. So
but anyway,
I would enjoy doing that.
The Discord. So it's an open source game, and so anyone can just look at the Discord where you can follow the development, and it's just really cool to see how hard the developers are working on Legion, and it's all volunteer development. They take donations, but the game is free. Developers volunteer. It's open source, so it is just cool to kind of see. You get to see how Legion is developing into a more fleshed out faction.
Yeah, that's one of the strengths of the game, is the fact that the dev team is so committed to it that they're working on it even in spite of not really having a steady income from it or guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed for them, but it's just a passion project, and they're committed to playing, to getting this game to the point where they can launch it even on Steam at some point. So they're committed to it, and they're taking a risk, honestly. a massive risk. But you know, in the end, I think they don't really care whether it becomes huge or whether it stays a little bit smaller. They don't really care because this is their game. This is a game that they want to see. This is their vision for their perfect RTS, and that's where it's all coming from.
Yeah, and the growth is kind of like a double-edged sword, because like of course I want to see the game like get bigger and be like quote unquote successful, you know, but at the same time it is so nice right now that it's like such a small tight-knit community.
Sure. But and it's not like the community is going to, like, you'll still know those people and you'll still have some access. It's just going to be a little bit harder. You'll have to search harder for the people, OG players, but they'll still exist. And I honestly do think the game should grow, and I want the game to grow.
I agree.
I think it'll be a huge benefit to everyone involved, even though some people might not see it that way currently. I mean, I think ultimately it will be the thing that sustains the game to keep it.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like we were saying, like the game I think has huge potential as esports. Like it got me into like quote unquote esports. Like this is the only game I watch, but it's just very exciting to watch. There's a huge spectator community. Like any game has a ton of spectators. Actually, Robot, could you pull up the player screen? Because like even this game, there's just 4 people just watching and hanging out.
Yeah, and it's just a random game.
Yeah, just a random game. And in any game, there'll usually be like a couple people just watching and like honestly studying, because it's a game. Like it's a very I don't want to say like intellectual game, but you know, it's a very heady game. Like there's a lot of you can learn a lot of stuff just from watching, like from the openings that people use, the units people use, the combinations, the timings. There's just a infinite amount of things that you can learn just from observing a couple of players, and each player is going to do everything slightly different, so you have just a massive amount of combinations that you can learn from watching, and it's also just plain enjoyable. And there's a lot of depth to the game, which is what makes it so addictive and engaging, you know.
Oh, and also we didn't touch on my favorite units.
Oh yeah.
As far as favorite units to use for Armada, I my favorite core would be the vehicle bay. I absolutely love Armada vehicles. And I've started to get a little. I've adjusted my opinions over time, you know, on my favorite units. I used to be like only Bulls, and I would build like Bulls and missile trucks and the Mauser, which are like artillery support vehicles, and that's like it. I would almost build nothing else. And I've refined it now to where I enjoy having the lightning tanks. What are they called?
Jaguars.
Jaguars. Having some Jaguars in there, especially early on, to mop up any of the lighter like pawns and grunts, and maybe even some of the T1 tanks. They will crush those guys, and their speed is very helpful as far as like maneuvering the map and getting support where it's needed. So Jaguars are fantastic as well.
So would you say that, so for those who don't know, the tanks that he just listed are all from the 2nd tech level? So there's
T2.
You start out obviously at tech level 1, or technically tech level 0. You start out with a commander, and then there's tech level 1, and then eventually you grow into tech level 2, and then there's tech level 3, which is but tech level 2, at least in my opinion, is like the most
engaging.
At least for me. Would you agree with that?
Involved, I think, or at least it has some of the highest strategy involved, in the fact that your units are not like super tough, so you have to be a bit careful with them, and you're going up against higher amounts of defenses. Oftentimes things like pulsars and the pop-up turrets, those can wreck your T2 tanks and T2 vehicles or bots, whatever you want to use. So you have to play a little bit more strategically, I think, in the T2 phase. Whereas when you get T3, you can usually push in and just win by force at
Yeah.
a certain point. So
Yeah, and again, like there's a lot of jargon to learn with the game. But for those of you who don't know, you have static defense, which are like laser towers, like things that don't move, obviously, that can deal damage. But then units are your like mobile units that can also deal damage and serve other functions too. And bar as an RTS, I haven't played a lot of RTSs, but just from what I've heard, bar compared to other RTSs emphasizes the mobile units a lot more than static defense, because the whole idea behind that is that they don't want games to be like stalemates, you know?
yeah.
And games typically last like around 40 minutes. Do you play more, because so you can play up to 8v8s. Do you play more small team games or 8v8s?
I enjoy the small team games probably a little bit more than 8v8s, but I played the majority of 8v8s for sure.
Yeah. Why would you say you enjoy the small team games more? Because I actually feel the same way about it, but 8v8s are fun for different reasons.
I just feel like you have a little bit more of an impact. You have a lot more teamwork that you have to use. It's just you get unique strategies, and it's a little bit more of an intimate group of people that you're going to be playing with, and you work together in a much stronger way, and it's just a bit more of a personal experience, I think, in smaller team games.
Yeah, you have more of at least from what I experienced. In 8v8s, I enjoy because you have less of an impact, so you have less responsibility. You can kind of like try things, whereas smaller team games, you have much more of an impact. And so, especially like you like to play with new players a lot. I really enjoy small team games if you're trying to teach new players, because you're able to
you actually have the time to do it.
Yeah, you can support them a little more too, because you're able to have more of an impact, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Whereas in 8v8s, it can be a little harder sometimes, definitely harder to learn.
Yeah, you're much more stuck in your role, and you can't really go out of it too far, otherwise it'll just break the game.
Well, I guess outside of the game, how's your life going? If you want to talk about that at all.
Good. Obviously, I'm not going to go too much into
of course.
detail, just for the sake of privacy.
Yeah.
But going well. Looking at potentially getting a new job, which might open up some opportunities to have a little bit more creativity in the YouTube side of things. That is not confirmed yet, but it is a potential. So definitely working towards that. We also have a baby on the way.
Oh, nice.
She is due on the 22nd of June. So
wow,
that is coming up very quickly.
Having a birthday on the solstice would be really cool.
And it might cause a little bit of a lull in my YouTube videos for a while, getting used to having a young one around, but also, I'll eventually be able to teach baby Jaws to do some bars. So it'll be a welcome trade-off, I'm sure.
Do you want to plug any of your content? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for those who are interested in getting started in Beyond Ball Reason, I would definitely recommend going to my YouTube channel, and that's JAWSMUNCH304. Just type that into YouTube, and it should pop me up. I'm the dinosaur. Just look for the red dinosaur, and that's me. You can also check me out on Twitch. Same thing, JAWSMUNCH304. And also, I don't know if you'll be posting the link to our Discord page. That's actually where we started planning the podcast, is actually with our Discord page here. So if you want to link that in the description, at least on YouTube, that would probably be handy as well.
I'll definitely link that.
That's about it, for now. Maybe in the future there'll be a couple other things. But that's about it.
Is there any other parts of the game you want to talk about, or?
Well, I mean, we could talk a little bit about the late game, because that's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of an aspect we haven't really touched that much on
Yeah.
yet. Late game, in my opinion, is not less interesting. I know that might be counter to your belief. I know you're not as fond of the late game as I, but the late game is, there's still a lot of strategy. It's just a little bit more how do you say, a little bit more rigid. You
Yeah.
you have less units to work with and
Yeah.
less like unique styles of plays you can do, but the way that you accomplish your goals are going to be different and unique every single game still. Like,
Yeah.
if you can try to do a quick fast attack with smaller T3 units or Tech 3 units. Those are the last units in the game.
Yeah, and the
try
Tech
to
3
just-
units are generally bigger. They
Yeah.
cost more, but they're way stronger.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're not like impossible to kill, but if you do a fast precision strike with those early on in your Tech 3 phase, then you can potentially win the game right off of the bat.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit tougher to do, because a single commander can just D-gun if you don't have enough enough of them to spread around and actually get through to the base. But that's one aspect, and then the other aspect would be just scaling. Like, it's kind of like an infinite scaling that you would have to do.
That's when
where
your economies go infinite, is usually in the late game.
And you have to reach a point where you outscale your opponent and produce enough units that you are able to push into them and not lose all of your metal, but actually damage their economy. If you can create damage on their economy, then that will lower their production levels to be below yours. The one risk, though, is that you end up losing all of your T3 units on their side. So then they can just eat all of that metal, from the wrecks.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's got a lot of back and forth to it, where a push of T3 will come in and you suck up all that metal from that, and then and then you push them and they suck up all the metal from it. And so it's kind of like a little bit of a back and forth, and building up a good enough army to push in can be a bit challenging at times. And that's kind of a fun back and forth that I really enjoy, and I think has a lot of value to it. So.
Yeah, I agree. I'm learning to appreciate the late game more. But I think, one of the great things about this game is there's like so many different aspects. Like, people love it for different reasons. Like, there's a lot of people who really love the late game, and they like prefer games that are, because the late game can get a lot more like gridlocked, I guess.
Yeah. Sure.
And there's people who love that, and it can be super fun to just like build a base up and try to do that. But me personally, I live for the T2 phase, because it just feels like the coolest in my opinion. I don't know, the big mechs in T3 are awesome, but I just love like the diversity. There's just a lot more T2 units.
Sure.
By design.
Yeah, agreed.
But the late game can be really fun. And we're just over 45 minutes, so I think it's probably a good time to wrap up.
Alrighty.
Any last words about the game you want to leave? Like, I guess a good message maybe to leave people with is like, if you're someone, what would you say to someone to try to like convince them to try the game?
Well, okay, first thing is the most obvious is that it's free, so there's almost no risk involved with it. So what do you have to lose? Right? And then second is like, even if you struggle with this style of game, just a little bit of practice and a little bit of research, and you're going to end up getting the hang of it quicker than you imagine. It's not just multiplayer. It's not like, this game has Raptors, where it's co-op. It has Scavengers, which they're still working on, but it's getting a lot better, where it's kind of like waves of aggression coming towards you. And then there's also skirmishes you can do in single player. There's scenarios in single player. Like, this game has plenty of options for those who might not want such a competitive scene. It's not just that is available to you. In my opinion, there's no reason not to give it a shot.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, like, just try to learn a little bit more about maybe what you're doing wrong. That's what I would recommend. Find out why am I struggling? Just ask yourself some basic questions. Why is my economy bad? Like, how did the other people get their economy so fast?
Yeah.
Maybe even watch a couple games.
Yeah.
And kind of challenge yourself to make improvements on what you've done previously. And you can grow tremendously just by doing something as simple as that. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And yeah, like you were saying, Beyond All Reason, it's a free-to-play game. It's in alpha right now. It's a massive scale or epic scale RTS, I think is what they call it. There's in this we talked mostly about player versus player game modes, but you can play co-op game modes where it's player versus environment, just player, you're playing against AI. Yeah, there's a lot to learn. It's challenging but very rewarding to learn. There's a great community around it. Like Jaws mentioned, we'll be linking Jaws' Discord where I hang out a lot. Will be linked in the description. So yeah, the community alone I think makes it worth trying out, and you might be surprised, even if you've never been interested in RTS games, you might be surprised in how much fun it can be once you learn it, or even the process of learning it can be very fun. So once again, could you just where can people find you again, Jaws?
Okay, yeah, that's JAWSMUNCH304 on YouTube and Twitch.
Nice. And what is your streaming schedule right now?
Streaming, so right now we're in the middle of our stream week where we're doing both evening and morning streams, but we're going to be transitioning into a morning stream schedule where we're doing Monday morning that starts at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, going up until 10 a.m. And then also Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, all at the same time. So that way you don't have to worry about any changes there. So yeah, that's what the standard schedule is going to be, is just 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Awesome. And I'll be hanging out too. I stream a little more irregularly, but I stream basically when Jaws doesn't stream. And I hang out on Jaws stream sometimes. I'll be hopefully doing this podcast more regularly. I have some cool interviews planned. And I'll hopefully get
names coming up.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't want to announce it just yet, out of fear of plans falling through, but yeah, I want to interview all the big names in the community, and just there's a lot to talk about with the game. So thanks for listening to the NebuCast. I'll see you guys whenever the next one happens, hopefully next week or the week after that. So thank you.
Yeah, and man, thanks for having me. Thanks for giving the opportunity to do an interview. And I appreciate the fact that you let me be the first. I think that's really fantastic of you. So
yeah,
I'm just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, and really thank you so much for coming on. It's always great to talk to you, and thank you. Yeah, of course you would be the first. Like, you've helped plan it and encourage me to do it, so I appreciate that a lot. And thank you, Robot Robert 032, for spectating the game for us.
Yes,
and
our silent hero.
Yeah, silent hero. And if you guys want, we can hang out and just watch the rest of this game, or you can obviously leave if you want. But this game, I don't remember if it went super long. Oh yeah, look, they have the
Ragnarok is basically done.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening in. We'll keep live streaming these so we can get live questions from you. And thanks for tuning in, and let's see how this game ends. They have it's called the lol cannon because they're just kind of funny. They're meant to end games where they're just super long range and do a ton of damage like rapidly. Ooh, let's see these. Oh yeah, the fusion reactor explosions are always so satisfying.
It all goes up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Oh, I think I remember this game actually. This is a game that I played. I'm the teal player. Just infinitely.
Worst feeling when you see your economy player blow up.
Yeah.
And then like 2 other bases chain react.
Yeah.
So bad.
Those lol cannons, man. I love dragons. They're one of the coolest units. I love the fire in the game. It looks so cool.
Yeah, they did a really good job with a lot of the graphics.
Yeah, I agree. Because like they talk about wanting to like redo stuff, and I'm like, really? Like it's so good already, you know?
I think there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, and of course I get that.
Kind of what they're ultimately being probably a bit perfectionist with it, but
as you should be, of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that was the end of the game. They always, especially 8v8s, they end in huge explosions, which is super fun. Yeah, thank you guys for the help. I'll have cut the podcast by now. But and thank you everyone on Twitch for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't followed me yet, I would greatly appreciate that because I'm 14 followers away from affiliate and it's free. But yeah, that was fun.
yeah, it was a good time.
There's always a lot to talk about. How was that for you, Robert?
It was great. That was fun.
Yeah.
I got to have the most fun out of you guys. So.
Yeah, you got to just zoom around. That was a fun match to spectate. I didn't realize until I saw the gunslingers and the spiders that it was my game, and I was.
I decided to find one of yours.
Yeah, that was a good one to show too.
Oh, did you guys get a chance to check out my new emote I made?
Oh my gosh, what, you made a new emote?
Yeah, it's on chat. It's in the main chat. Oh, Jinxer and Shiv found it.
Oh gosh.
It's making fun of the what is it called? Where is it?
Oh gosh.
Thank you, Bullet, for the follow, by the way.
Blob of camel space. Oh no. All the fake cussing that's happening.
Oh, that's funny.
We're done with the podcast side. So
yeah,
we're just chilling at this point now.
We could yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna end the stream here, but thank you everyone for watching. I'll be doing a regular stream. I
think you cut out again. It's always at the worst timing.
Yeah, I'm gonna send all you guys watching the stream to raid Bad Strat real quick.
Oh, nice.
Bad Strategy's been streaming a lot more recently, which is really good. It's always nice to see someone start coming in that's consistent, you know, putting streams up.
Oh, I guess I'm not allowed to raid Bad Strat. Let me make sure I follow him.
Does he not let you raid?
I can't raid anyone for some reason.
That's
and I'm not sure why.
Did you type in the I think you can sort by category and try to raid in the Beyond All Reason category, maybe.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, mostly he's the only one on.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
We actually have we had like
this
7
is one of the
to
reasons why I
10.
actually want to start streaming in the mornings, because a lot of people aren't on. And actually, I have looked at the stats, and a lot of people want to be on during this time. There's like increase in volume.
Well, that's why I want to stream in the mornings too, but a lot of my friends do it, so I don't want to like overlap with them, you know.
Sure.
How do I go to my stream manager on the...
Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go for now. I gotta get some stuff
Yeah.
ready for work, and I might be on later. We'll see. Possibly not though. But for now, I need to get to some business.
All right, I'm gonna get going too. Go check out Bad Strategy stream. I can't officially rate him, but thank you again, Robot, for the help. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Visuals are always fun.
Yeah. I'm looking forward. I hope the Brightworks interview works out. But we'll see.
Damn.
All right, I'm gonna hop off too. But see you guys. Go check out Bad Strategy stream.
All right, peace, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, see ya.